What's going on, everybody? Look, we are trying some new stuff over here. I'm looking to see we live. It say we live. We live over on Amazon. We live on YouTube. We live on Facebook. We live on LinkedIn. And we want to tell everybody happy Monday. Because we're coming today from two locations. I know that I'm here on the south side of the city of Chicago. And Monica, where are you today?
I'm in Franklin, Tennessee on the south side of Nashville.
Come on, south side of Nashville. So today I'm elated to have Monica Neubauer back. We are fellow real estate keynote speakers. We are fellow CRS certified instructors. We share a lot of things in common when it comes to the real estate education space. And I know that we've had an interview before because we talked about your book, Straight Talk for Real Estate Success. But today we're going to have a follow-up discussion. And if
Yep.
anybody wants to purchase your book, they can head right on over there to Amazon. They can go to actually markilemons.live on Amazon to pick them up a copy of Straight Talk. So what's going on today on the south side of Franklin, Tennessee?
Oh, the south side of Franklin, Tennessee is beautiful. Fall has arrived finally, and our trees are turning colors bright red and orange. And we're selling we're selling as much real estate as we can, Marky. Just like everywhere else, we're part of the Great Migration and we're an arrival city. So we are very, very busy here. Still lots of multiple offers, lots of buyers, frustrated, quite frankly. But the deal's still happening. Lots of people still making it happen and moving to Franklin, Tennessee. So it's exciting here for us.
So I love that language. You are an arrival city. I guess I'm living in a departure city, and I know that they are definitely coming your way.
Yep.
Well, we're at that unique time of year where we head off to the biggest conference
Yep.
in real estate, the National Association of Realtors Conference in San Diego. Historically, it would be 20 to 25,000 people contingent upon the city. But this year we are at a solid 10,000, which I think is fabulous for us to be coming back.
Yep.
And we're going to do a lot of networking. We're going to attend a lot of classes as we start to properly prepare for 2022. But because I know you've been back out on the road, just like I have, I even seen your post over in the National Speakers Association because we tired. Like the
Yep.
road has worn our butts out. There were a couple of things that I wanted to talk about in light of a conversation that I've been having. I believe you're also an ABR instructor, right?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So this is what I would like for realtors to envision. We know that the Department of Justice has been looking into our industry and that we're getting ready to see some changes, especially in the MLS, where you might not see an offer of compensation. What I've been preaching to everybody is the fact that they need to take the ABR course so that they can learn how to negotiate a buyer representation agreement with an offer of compensation, just in case that day happens when they go into their MLS and they don't see any cooperating compensation, right?
Right.
So
Remind our listeners what the ABR designation is.
the ABR designation, thank you, is the Accredited Buyer Representation Designation. It's a 2-day course provided under the Center for Realtor Education, Specialized Education. Let me give even a better story than that. When I came into real estate, I quickly realized that the pre-license course does not teach you how to sell real estate. My very first year selling real estate, I closed $12 million in volume. I attribute my real estate success to taking the ABR course because I was clear I didn't know nothing about selling real estate because the pre-license course does not teach you how to sell real
Right.
estate. And
Right.
taking the ABR course, one of the things it taught me was everything about buyer representation, but also how to get a signed buyer representation agreement and how to also negotiate the offer of compensation.
Right.
So, historically in our world, we have the MLS, and in the MLS, there's an offer of compensation offered. However, there are discussions in every MLS right now if they should turn that button off. If they
Mm.
turn that button off, then a buyer's agent will not be able, it won't be an offer of compensation. So,
Right.
what do? What I'm recommending to every agent who has never taken the ABR course is to go take the ABR course, because what I'm clear about, the people who have the ABR, they will know what to do. The people who don't have the ABR, who might be with a company that the managing broker don't have an ABR, who knows nothing about a buyer representation agreement and an offer of compensation, guess what? They're going to need to take the class. But we're going to help them out just a little bit today, because when I went through your book, right, the number one thing that came out was not the number one thing, because we're going to talk about a couple of tips, but I wanted to start with tip number 53. Always start with a consultation. Just the same, look, for the buyer and for the seller. So I did more talking than I had anticipated I was going to do already, Monica. I'm going to let
You're
you
saying
get into
good stuff. I say amen, Marky. Amen. Preach it. I'm with you. I'll preach it right along with you.
Look, they need to be booking these ABR courses. If they ain't booked, look, if they don't book nothing else, agents need the ABR course, whether they know they need it or not. See, we know what they don't know, right?
Well,
and that course right there changed my life. And I'm going to just say this and I'm going to shut up. My son, Skylar, who's a second generation realtor, it hit me 2 weeks ago. Girl, why didn't you tell the boy to take the ABR class, right? Skylar went last Thursday and Friday. He took the ABR class. And here's the thing. I think you need to have 5 closed buyer transactions. The class will help you. I closed 70 deals my first year because of the ABR course. Don't think of, oh, I don't have these deals. Think of, I'm going to get these deals and I'm going to build a sustainable real estate business because I took this course. All right. I want you to go on and get into this tip number 53, why you should always start with a consultation.
All right. This is one of my favorite soapboxes, if you will, right now, because we have so many agents in their busy state. They are just jumping into this relationship with the people that they're working with. They'll go show them a house. They'll get a call or an email or an open house, the same ways that we've met buyers and sellers before. Then they just keep showing them houses. They're not actually taking the time as often now to sit down and have that consultation with the potential buyer. I'm going to focus a little bit more on that initially, with that buyer, to make sure that the buyer is well educated on the market, to make sure their financing is ready. We all know by now, the way this market has been so crazy, that if you don't have your buyer ready, financially ready, emotionally ready, knowledge ready, they're not going to be able to get the houses that they want when you get out in the marketplace. And if we don't know all of this good information about our buyer, and we don't understand their motivation and where they're going to live if they don't buy a house, if we don't understand all of that, well, we're not going to be able to steer them towards the properties that we know are probably the best for them. And we use the motivation to help us say, here is, you wanted this and this, so I'm taking you to this community, whereas they're still kind of floating all around like this. And we waste so much time without a consultation. And who has time to waste right now?
No one has time to waste right now. So I 100% agree that we should do the consultation. But here's what's going to be funny.
Okay.
At the moment that you have to implement a buyer's agreement and ensure that you get paid because you won't see a co-op, automatically a consultation or the likelihood is going to increase substantially.
Totally.
So imagine that, right? Because how you going to get paid as a buyer's agent? See, the listing agent already got a signed agreement, right?
Yeah.
What they're not doing is will not be putting that, whatever that percentage is, which is also subject to negotiations. And now we got to strategize with that buyer client. Hey, buyer client, guess what? And I want to make this very loud and clear for everyone. An agent cannot use the sales contract to negotiate an offer of compensation. But a client who is subject to an exclusive buyer representation agreement can use a sales contract to offset their contractual obligations. Now, I know some people, what I just said sound foreign to them. That's why they need to come to the ABR class to get a deeper understanding. But I'm going to just say this again, because I want you to be clear, because somebody going to inbox me later. They going to say what I said. What I said was, an agent cannot use a sales contract to negotiate their offer of compensation. But a buyer, the person who is a party to the contract, can, provided that they have an executed buyer representation agreement with an offer of compensation. So I know that sounded like a tongue twister, which it was, right? But you got to understand as an agent what this terminology is. And let me say this, some things are getting ready to change because I just looked at some numbers the other day. I'm looking here for a sheet of paper. There's now 1.555, I think it's 1,555,879 realtors as we go into this realtor conference and expo. And guess what? We don't even have right now 1,555,879 houses available for sale in the market. I just want to throw that out there. So let me say this. Michael has come over here to say hi to you. So has Tanisha. So guess what? Our little parent situation is definitely working. And
Yay.
what else I want to say is Monica's book. If you go right now, let me come back over here because I'm multitasking, right? If you go over to markilemons.live, you can purchase her book directly off of Amazon. Straight Talk for Real Estate Success, 80 Tips for Structuring, Organizing, and Promoting Your Business, your real estate business. And we're on tip number 53. Always start with a consultation. Woo! We on fire
I want
this
to make
morning.
a bridge, Marky. I want to make a bridge from what you were saying about the compensation and negotiating the compensation. Now, you and I know from time in class that a lot of agents are nervous about talking about the buyer's rep agreement. They're nervous about talking about commission, and the consultation. Gosh, it has to happen for so many reasons. But if you're having a consultation with a buyer and a seller, it works on both of those, you're going to have an opportunity to present your professionalism. And one of the crucial things that agents need to be doing is knowing and even exemplifying their value in the transaction, right? So I'm suggesting that when you go meet a buyer, you go meet a seller, you need to have a list of all the things that you're doing to show them, because when you're discussing numbers much more obviously than we may have been in the past, and they, especially the buyers, are looking at, okay, I'm going to have to be paying this, it's going to be more important than ever for you to show your value in the transaction, which is mighty. You're going to be doing so much work for them, but if you can't explain that to them, they're not going to be able to see it, and they may not perceive your value at the beginning. And then, excuse me. And then when we get to the conversation, like you were just talking about, Marky, when they need to talk about the money, and there might be a possibility that we can put commissions into a contract from the buyer side, not because the agent does it. The agent can't do it, but we know that gets all kind of convoluted in the agent is actually writing the contract and the agent is educating the buyer. And all of those things need to happen before you get to the contract, because you want that contract to be written from the buyer's perspective, and they need to have already had that conversation with you about where is the payment for my agent coming from, whether it is offered as a co-op fee or it's not. How are you going to have that conversation? And it needs to happen in a neutral space at the beginning, like you're sitting down saying, this is the service I'm going to be providing you, and here's how much it's going to cost, and this is how I'm going to get paid, this way, or this way. And it needs to happen in a neutral space, because otherwise you won't have the buyer understanding it. If you're trying to explain that at the same time you're doing an offer after you've just seen a house and they have to rush in and do the first offer right now, and you may or may not have even explained the contract to them, that's all too much at one time.
When you were talking, Monica, the first thing that came to mind is one sentence that I hear agents say all the time that we will need to eradicate from our language, and that is buyers agents always stating that their service is free.
Yes.
Your service is not free.
Right.
And when we see these changes come, because it's coming, I promise you, you're going to now need to negotiate your compensation. You're going to have a totally different conversation in order to survive in the real estate market. That whole my services are free. Your services can't be free, right? When you're walking out the door with a check. Your services are not free when you're walking out the door with a check. So a couple of questions. They want to know, do you have a coupon code for the book?
At this time, I do not, but I do want to say the book is $13, so it's not very expensive. And if you buy the Kindle version, it's $4.99. So there's your coupon.
There's your coupon, $4.99 Kindle. Go get it right now. Sally is saying, good morning, ladies. Good morning, Sally. We got a couple of people who are tuning in with us today. Let's see what this comment is. I love this. Hey, Donna, this is a conversation that right now should be had. It's a conversation that I'm discussing with my agents. It's a conversation that once the reality really hit me in the past 45 days, whenever I'm talking to someone, I'm telling them, one, you need the ABR class, which is why I put my 25-year-old son in the class. Be clear, my son was in the class last week because I'm like, you know what? If I want him to be successful, first of all, I should have been had him in designation and certification courses. What was I thinking? But I'm like, this class changed and structured. It didn't change it. It structured my real estate career, right? The ABR class structured my real estate career. And I was talking to Don Heckey over at Reback, and I'm like, you know what? We need to stop telling people or have people under the perception that when they come into real estate, they should wait to earn designations and certifications. They need to earn them in order to build a sustainable real estate business, because the pre-license course does not teach you how to sell real estate. I believe the ABR and the SRS course, if you're serious about your real estate career, should be the first classes that you take, whether you meet all the credentials to get the ABR, right? I earned the ABR within my first year because I sold 70 houses. I met the requirements, right? So keep that in mind. We got Joanne, our good friend from Idaho. Joanne, you know we love and we miss you. Trish stated that, 1 to 2%. What is this? Showing up already. Oh, okay. And so what we're seeing is the offer of compensation is not what some of us historically had saw. I got to be very careful with my language here, right? Because of antitrust. And so there is the likelihood, because this is just a switch, guys, where no offer of compensation will be seen, period. I just want you to start visualizing.
We have that.
Right.
We've seen some agents offering no compensation in our market.
And let me tell you who actually put me on. Adorna Carroll. Adorna Carroll told me this was likely to happen 5-6 years ago when I started to teach the SRS course. So mentally, I was getting prepared, but keep in mind, we also had the ABR. So we are speaking, thank you so much. We are speaking the truth. We just want everybody to be clear about what is going on. And here's really a question that Monica, I don't expect you to answer, but I'm just throwing out there. Why should the listing agent be the one to do the negotiating and then make an offer of compensation? Why wouldn't every buyer rep have to do exactly what a listing agent does? I'm just throwing that out there, right? So we go in, we got to negotiate, we got to haggle, we got to go back and forth. We have to demonstrate our value. There's nothing wrong with the buyer's agent having to do so. But let me also be clear. That listing agent who has systems in place, has already garnished market share, might have an easier time because they are accustomed to doing this, just to keep that in mind. So good morning, Sharon. Hey, Sharon, what's going on? You love Adorna. Look, I love me some Adorna. Suck it up, buttercup. And look, I'm going to get me some of her this week because I've missed her so much. And so definitely she's a straight shooter. She keeps it 100, but she also has insight. All right. Whoa. So we went from tip number 53. Now, there were some other tips when I was looking through here, right?
Yep.
Because, I'm going to take them in order. Tip number 56, because I had never heard of the term a transactional information guide, a TIG, right? That's what it is.
That's, one of my personal missions is to upset some of the language that we use in the real estate industry. Thank you so much, Melinda. We are upsetting the language. We need to change some language. Kind of like this, Marky. When people are going to be sending emails, automated emails to their clients, there's some great systems that work with that. But I'm over calling them a drip campaign because I don't want to be dripped. You want to be dripped?
No.
No. So I changed the name of what we might have called the buyer book. We give the buyer informational. So I changed it to Transactional Information Guide, the TIG. Let's make a buyer TIG and a seller TIG, because our clients are used to getting information 24/7. They go online, they can get information, and we are not. Here's one of the challenges. There's so much information for the public about real estate online, but where do you want your clients getting answers to their questions? Do you want them going and looking on YouTube and listening to what other agents are teaching them? Or do you want to be educating your clients? So the TIG is a book form. You can put it in many forms, and you're going to love this, Marky, because this is true to your own heart of reusing content. But when you write the TIG, you've got, paragraphs, a section on the inspection. You've got a cute flow chart about how things are going to go. You've got a section on lending. Well, then each one of those you can convert into a blog you can put on your website. So you've got written language that's easily SEO viewed, and you can sit in a studio for one day and record 10 or 12 videos. I don't care, your studio, wherever you are, record 10 or 12 videos that you can then put on YouTube and put some good keywords with it. And now you've got online searchable data. You've got a great website that you can direct your clients to when they have questions. And when you're trying to set up a boundary for yourself and say, I don't take calls after 8 o'clock or after 7 o'clock unless we're negotiating an offer, you let them know that in that TIG, which is in either book form that you printed for them or PDF form that they got in their email, or it's on blogs on your website, it's on videos. And that way they know if they have questions, they can get the answers directly from you. This is you providing value to your clients in your language with your expertise that's available to them when they have questions when you're not available. And then we educate them. This is what this is for. This is me answering your questions if you can't get me.
So one, this is a tip. This is actually tip number 56 out of Straight Talk for Real Estate Success. But I wanted to come down here because you also mentioned in here the fact that we should include some stats. So I don't know if everybody just opened up NAR by the numbers. This came out from our CEO last week. I wanted to correct the number that I said. I was almost right, but there's currently 1,556,762 Realtor members. I said 1,555,879 is actually more, right, than what I said. So the numbers.
Well, 2 weeks have passed, Marky. 2 weeks have passed. So more realtors came in.
So it's more, but this is a great new guide because one, you do want to understand the numbers. The next thing is this week at the Realtor Conference and Expo, they will deliver the 2021 profile of buyers and sellers. That has guided my career now. Ever since the 2006 profile of buyers and sellers. As a Realtor member, you can receive the highlights. I 100% recommend that you read it. You got to understand your numbers. This is a numbers business. The more you understand the numbers, right, the better you're going to be sitting in this consultation, and the more robust your TIG could be, your transactional information guide. And so NAR is consistently giving us a lot of numbers. And you know what else, Monica? I just realized I forgot we have in common. We're also both podcasters. So we're taking our podcast and we're repurposing that information to build out that YouTube, to send our emails, to have our blog post, and to create our photo quote. So we are repurposing queens of our content. And I want to throw in a tip. If you have not gotten your free Canva account, I want you to go and get a free Canva account. And the reason is because you can create your PDFs, but every TIG that you create, not only can you have it in a PDF format, you can also have it in a JPEG. So now you can use it just to market it as a picture. And right now, Canva has a very robust video creation tool. So you can take it, add a little automation and music to it, and you also have a video. Woo!
For
Okay.
those of you who are a little nervous about getting on the camera yourself, absolutely start with those animated videos, put some text in there, get used to making the videos, and then maybe you'll feel comfortable doing this like Marky and I do.
Yes. Will this all be on the NAR site? Melinda, all of this won't be on the NAR site because me and Monica, we have different agreements in place with NAR where it's certified instructors for numerous organizations. We, because we're both authors, we're both podcasters, we are today having a conversation around Monica's book, Straight Talk for Real Estate Success. However, yes, the NAR by the numbers should officially be on the NAR website.
Yep.
And the Pro 2021 profile of buyers and sellers, when they're going to write a blog post, is going to come out sometime this week. And that will also be available to all members. So those two things will definitely be, oh, no, I meant the numbers. Yes, the numbers. Okay. This is already out. They sent out an email the other day. So we got to stop ignoring our emails.
Don't ignore your NAR emails.
Do not ignore it. It just came out, in the past 7 days. And so you can see I took the time to download it because I wanted to see how our numbers have grown. We're no longer a 1.4 million realtor organization. We're over 1.5. So that lets you know we actually have more competition in a hyper uber sellers market, even though we are starting to see a little softening in that market, which is why we're discussing some tips that you can implement now and going into 2022. Jamie, thank you very much. Guess what? Jamie just came, and Jamie is the bomb. So Jamie Curtis,
she is.
We appreciate you. You can go right now to nar.realtor/articles, by the numbers, and you can too download this. Thank you for sharing it. It gives you just an overlook of all the numbers that they put together, how we participated this year. In different webinars, in call to actions, how many people have completed, I believe, the C2X, commitment to excellence training, and also the new Fairhaven training, the implicit bias training, and at home with diversity numbers, which if anyone is in a leadership role, let me just say this, side note, I am so proud of the National Association of Realtors for implementing the fact that if you are going to serve on any committee, that you need to have designation certifications and you have to take some of this education and training. So it is no longer just good enough for you to be a member, right, or a top producer. You have to be vested in NAR education in order to serve on a national level. So I applaud NAR, right, for taking that action. Of course we do, right? Because
then they're going to come to our classes and we can have more fun.
Yeah, we get to have more fun, but we get to have a deeper discussion around some of the subjects that are very important right now. Any other tips on number 56 being the transactional information guide? I love that.
Well, I wanted to connect that with what you were talking about with by the numbers. That has a certain set of numbers on it. But one of my favorite channels to follow is NAR Research. Jessica Lautz, her team, they put together the numbers that are happening around the country, the sales numbers, and they provide something that's just fabulous for you to share with your clients in your newsletters, on your social media. And people now are looking for the numbers because they can access it so well. So it's at NAR Research.
NAR Research. This is great content over on Instagram. I'm sorry.
Yep, on Instagram. So that is fantastic for you to use and share. They create that for us. That's one of our member benefits, is having the benefit of Jessica and her team digging into the numbers, and then we can share that. And we can use our PR. We need to use the information that NAR gives us because that makes us smarter. And that's, again, part of the value that we're providing. And if you find some favorite tips in there, that's another great thing to put in your TIG. You know, you update it up 2 or 3 times a year. Here's what's going on a national level. Here's what I'm showing to you. All of this, we need to use these tools, and we need to be reading the NAR articles. I love reading the Realtor Magazine articles. and are in often the CRS magazine. I love reading all of these. The ABR, the what's it called that comes out like quarterly from ABR and the SRES Council. They have those information kind of fold out things. Those are awesome. They
Real
always
Estate
have.
Today? Is it Real Estate Today?
No, I think
Mm-mm.
that's the podcast.
The podcast. Well,
I don't have
look,
one, but
some people like, what are all these resources? These are your member benefits.
yes, great resources that come. NAR member benefits. And then once you have your ABR or your SRS, there's more webinars, there's more these handouts, they come in the mail. There's great tips. If you are needing help with something, please do not let Facebook be your only source of information, because so many of the people talking on Facebook and in these groups haven't gotten the education that is specific and directly useful. And so some of the tips that are flying around, they're a little bit scary. So we suggest you follow these sources and get some really good information from top producers, people who know the law, they know the ethics, and they're suggesting some great things for you to do.
Donna Perry says she just ordered your Kindle version, so she has it.
Thanks, Donna.
And make sure you also go to the book dash resources for additional resources. Now, when I picked the great vendor list, let me tell you a little story. Yesterday, my good friend Kristen Pearson out of Michigan, she stopped by to see me after she was in the 5K hot chocolate run. Now, she and I were both, I was working with homes.com. This was all before they were acquired. So when she stopped by, she told me about a new company that's within the National Association of Realtors REACH program. And that program is called milestones.ai. And so I went to go look at it because it's coming out. It's supposed to be fabulous. Deliver a collaborative and personalized experience to home buyers, sellers, and owners. And it's creating a owner's hub. Well, in creating a owner's hub, right? We know that we have a high satisfaction rate, but most people don't do business with the same real estate professional. So the question she asked me was, Marky, after the real estate transaction, do we know how do we follow up? How consistent are we with following up with the people we just either leased a property to or put into a new home? So that brought to mind, when I'm thinking about milestones.ai and creating this vendor list, because we want, but it's just not a regular old vendors list, right? I'll give you an example. Years ago, my basement flooded. When my basement flooded, FEMA was in Chicago. I called FEMA. FEMA came over within 48 hours. They deposited a check, right? Well, to me, that's a resource. So my assumption is if my house flooded, other people's houses flooded, right? My past clients. So my neighbors across the street, Mrs. Martin, stopped me in the street one day crying. She was like, Marky, me and Papa Martin, we don't know what we would have done if we didn't get that money from FEMA. Thank you. Myrtle Jones, one of my ships, her mother sent me a handwritten note, right? Yeah. That's the kind of ongoing information that would be a part of your hub or your follow-up. If you're experiencing a problem, likelihood is others are also going through that. Recently, I hadn't had my windows cleaned on my house. The company I used was freaking fabulous, to the point that every year now I plan on getting my windows cleaned. I had somebody, I don't have time for that, right? I don't know how to pop a window in or out. So let me be clear. But I thought it was great, right? So as you're doing updates to your house and you find someone who provides fabulous service, you want to add them to the list. But you also want to go back to what you had in here is your customer relationship management system and assume that everybody needs a window cleaner. Okay. But go on. I'm sorry, because the great vendor list. I just had to tell you why I picked that tip. And it's because Kristen introduced me to milestones.ai. And I thought, we don't follow up enough once we conclude our transactions.
I completely agree and think I agree with everything you just said. And when we go back to the conversation about providing the consultation and what do we do for our clients, we need to remember this moving forward, that if a computer can do it, a computer will do it. So we need to come back into our minds as to what can I provide? What can I do that a computer can't do? And I'll tell you that computers are doing a whole lot of recommending vendors, honestly. And that's where a lot of our clients are finding vendors, and some of them are finding some really good vendors. So whether you've had them on your own house or your client has had an excellent vendor, whether it's you or them, have your clients share their excellent vendors back with you if you don't necessarily have that person in your list. And this should be a spreadsheet you've got. You can put it on a Google Doc and you can share it with your clients that easy. I've also seen Kim Knapp had this great example. She's in Jacksonville and she put together this great little book that said, I've got a guy. Now, I'm going to say there's a whole lot more women who are doing these tasks these days than ever before, but it was a great little kind of a guide and heading for it. And you opened it up and it had her vendors in it. And it was a great tool that she provided, maybe just to her clients. I don't know if she shared this with everybody or just clients, but that could be a client member benefit if you have that really strong list of vendors. And we recently did the senior real estate specialist designation, and that one talks about even more vendors that you can accumulate. So if you're a big learner like Marky and I are, and you're always accumulating this information, you're hearing good information about vendors or good things that are going on in your community, are you putting those in a spreadsheet so you can share them easily and quickly when your clients need it?
It's a couple of things you said that I'm writing down that I have to take. One, you are an arrival city. Two is definitely going to be the TIG. But now I have to start telling people I'm a big learner. Like
You are a big learner.
I'm a big learner, right? So I'm like, I like that. I'm a big learner. Yes, because we always say lifelong learner, but
Yep.
a big learner is also of value because you are consistently. It's not like you're doing a little bit over time.
No.
You're doing it at a bigger level. I love that. I want to know if any people in our audience have any questions. If you do, come on over, type those questions into the chat on your platform, as we have people joining us right now from LinkedIn, from YouTube Live, and from Facebook. If you have not had the opportunity, I do want you to go over to markilemons.live. You can pick up your Kindle version or the paper version of Straight Talk for Real Estate Success, 80 Tips for Structuring, Organizing, and Planning Your Real Estate Business. And we didn't have time, of course, to go through all 80, but I wanted us to talk about what was relevant now. The Department of Justice is relevant now. We both highly recommend that you take the ABR, the Accredited Buyer Representation course, along with the SRS course if you've not had the opportunity, because it will change your real estate career. We talked about, not only did we talk about tip number 53, we also discussed tip number 56 and tip number 57, keeping in mind that a lot of people do not use the agent that they previously used because we're not doing an effective job of staying in touch. And one of the ways to do that is through the vendor list and consistently adding to that list. So like having your windows clean. Then I had them, I was so paranoid because I had not had my ductwork cleaned out, that when I had my ductwork cleaned out, I also recommended them. So as you're adding people to your list, share that to your customer or through your customer relationship management system and send out an email and say, hey, I have this new person, but this is what I would recommend you do. Go in and negotiate a coupon.
There you go.
Call it whatever your name is, the Marky coupon, because you've done, hey, look, and this will work. I'm a realtor.
Oh, yeah.
I service so-and-so community. Can you offer me a special 10, 20, 25, whatever it is, right? Off, and come up with your own special code to use. Because guess what they'll do? Anybody calls them because they don't have to spend that money on those marketing dollars. They'll probably start reaching out to you all the time. Look, we got a special offer, but only do it if they were good to you. They have to be good to you. So let's come over here to the chat and see if we have any questions. Marion, thank you very much. We take great pride in what it is that we do. Sharon stated that great point. She is a big lifelong learner. We will likely, I'm almost sure she is going to be in San Diego. Nicholas Price.
Let me mention a quick San Diego tip as you're kind of reviewing those real quick. That goes with the vendor list. I am going to NAR, and my favorite place to go when I'm there is the expo. I mean, I love the networking, so I'm going to be networking a lot. But my favorite thing is to hang out in the expo, because you know what the expo is? The expo is the future. These are the people who are researching and creating what's going to be happening tomorrow. So being that big learner, I want to go and hang out with them and find out, they're being paid to look down the future and create products, create scripts, and create these things. So we want to be connecting with those vendors. Those are the vendors. They may or may not be the ones we share with our clients, but those are the ones that we need and that we need to be learning from. So that vendor thing kind of goes both ways, Marky. We need to be learning from the vendors as well as having the vendors to share with our clients.
I agree 100%. It's look, the fact that I added milestones.ai and the REACH program to my list of people to go and see. One of the other things in my private membership group, 6 Figures in 12 Months, a lot of people asked about CRMs. So I am going to interview someone from each of the companies. So then they'll understand that person's personality, training, all of that great stuff for those organizations. So Trish stated, I would love to take the ABR in person soon. Any chances either of you are teaching it soon? So Monica, are you teaching the ABR course anytime soon?
I do not have that in my books. I have one I was negotiating with. But let's tell your listeners, you may have one, but let's tell our listeners about trainingforre.com, which is where you can find all of those courses. I mean, certainly I'd love for you to be in mine, but I don't want you to miss the education from another good instructor. So training and the number 4re.com is where you can see the designation courses that are being offered across the country. And if they're in person or hybrid, because a hybrid thing is great. Trish is in Pennsylvania, and if we were teaching it somewhere else and it's hybrid, she can still join us.
So I no longer teach the ABR, even though I still maintain the ABR, only because I have the only digital lead generation program in the NAR family. So my whole thing is digital lead generation. And there are a lot of great instructors who definitely teach the ABR course. Linda had a question. How do you avoid a vendor list pitfall of clients thinking you are getting a kickback? I would put it on there. At the bottom, I would state, I will not receive any referral fees for any person in which you decide to use. This is solely to benefit you because I've had a good experience. I would also note, and you may email me if your experience is not great.
Stellar.
Stellar. I recently had a bad experience, won't mention the organization. And the person who referred me, I reached back out to him. I said, hey, I know that you're sending people here, but I had not one bad experience, but 3 bad experiences with 3 different vendors, right? And here's what's funny. I wanted to get a new closet built in my house. I sent everybody a meeting request using Google because I need to have everything on my calendar. Do you know they were all no calls, no show, but they all accepted the appointment? I know the typical homeowner is not sending you a dang on Google meeting request where it is on your calendar to remind you that you need to show up at their house. And I decided to just postpone doing the closet because if you cannot be on time for a consultation, I was going to be mad getting a new closet. So I said, you know what? Forget it until you got more time because what I don't have was time for that. And so I postponed it. I need the link to NAR again. Let me come back up here and just post that link for you one more time. The link is going to be nar.realtor, and you can just do 2021 by the numbers. I think it is the first time they've posted something similar to this because I haven't seen anything like that. They want to know, are you on Audible?
Oh, me? No, not at this point. I'm not on Audible as an author. I'm certainly on Audible as a listener. But my book is not available on Audible. Although, if you need to have some, you need or you want to have that help, Kindle does offer in the program for Kindle where the Kindle will read it for you. I'm not experienced with how enjoyable that might be to listen to, but the Kindle does have a book reader in it.
Yeah, it does. And there are some new tools out that will scan it and read it as well. I have one as a free app, which is a audio app. Let me just go see if I can pull it up
Well,
real
maybe
quick
I
for
better
you.
write this down, get my book in there so I can get it on
On
Audible.
Oh yeah, the audio space is growing by leaps and bounds. Oh,
Oh, it
this one is
is.
actually the audio extractor. So this wouldn't do that. What this would do is extract the audio and turn it into text. But there are readers that will go in, read the text, and turn it into Audible for anything. Okay. So that is definitely something that you can do. So, Monica, tell people how to reach out to you. This is actually our follow up was hotter than our first interview, and our first interview was hot. We just had so much more. I guess we're just so excited to get back in person, to hug on our fellow realtors, to see these new stats and reports that are coming out. But besides the fact of them going and purchasing right now, Straight Talk for Real Estate Success, is there any other actions they can take right now?
Well, if they want to listen to the podcast, here's the kind of the language, the Center for Realtor Development Podcast. That's how you need to look for it in your podcast apps, is the Center for Realtor Development Podcast, or at CRD Podcast. There it is, crdpodcast.com, and you can see all of them there. And the podcast with NAR is a topic-based podcast. So we dig in deep to topics like teams and leadership, and gosh, we talked about codes a few weeks ago. We'll talk about multiple offers and working with appraisers. So the podcast offers for you technical knowledge, not necessarily the sales knowledge. And actually, if I may say so, I love this idea for if you're a broker owner and you want to give a gift to your agents or something to your new agents to help them build their business. If I may be so bold as to say, this is a powerful little training tool just in my book and in the podcast. This is the business method for them to build their business. And this is the technical information where they can learn about the industry. And so for $13 for the book, and if you contact me and you want to buy a bunch of them, I'll give you a bulk situation like that. Both of those for all new agents, it costs you so little money, and they're just power pack tools. So that's one of my favorite things, is I think that's a great tool to help newer agents or agents needing a little boost to get started. You can find me on Instagram at Monica Neubauer Speaks. And if you want to follow me on Facebook, you can follow my business page, Monica Neubauer Speaks, or you can just follow me, my personal page. I do more personal things, but everything I do on my Facebook page is public. So you can see everything, even if we're not friends on Facebook. So those are the main places. I mean, I hang out. I've got some things going on YouTube and, coming and going. But the Instagram and my Facebook personal page are where I keep up the most current things.
If you've not had a chance, head on over to markilemons.live. Most definitely, you can buy Monica's book right now. It is available for you. And we appreciate you hanging out with us this morning. Please feel free to reach out to us in the future. See you guys soon.